Hi, I'm Allan Nanny. Welcome to Conversations with Allan. One of the things I hear most often when I talk with experienced agents is this: Allan, I'm actually doing pretty well. And my honest response is, that's great. And I mean that sincerely. But it also leads me to something I've observed over many years in this business that surprises most people when I say it out loud. The agents who benefit most from evaluating their business model are often not the ones who are struggling. They're the ones who are succeeding. Here's why that matters. When an agent is struggling, they're focused almost entirely on survival. More business, more transactions, more income. Get through this month. Get through this quarter. That's understandable, and it's necessary. But when you're already producing at a high level, something important changes. You finally have the freedom to step back and ask a different kind of question. Not, how do I sell more houses? But, what am I actually building? Those are two very different questions. And the second one only becomes possible when the pressure of survival has lifted. One of the advantages of having spent 35 years in this business and 15 years before that as a financial executive is that I've had the opportunity to observe a wide range of business models from the inside. I've worked within traditional brokerages, both independent and franchised. We've owned a brokerage. I've led large organizations. And now I'm living and working in a model that operates very differently from anything I encountered in my first 3 decades in real estate. That perspective has taught me something I believe deeply. Success alone is a poor measure of whether a business structure is working for you. I've seen agents earning strong incomes while building nothing they actually owned. I've seen talented, hardworking professionals put in more effort every year without creating more freedom. I've seen highly productive agents remain completely dependent on their next transaction, year after year, with no meaningful change in their long-term trajectory. And I've also seen what happens when compensation, training, technology, leadership, and long-term opportunity are all working together inside a model intentionally designed for agent growth and freedom. The outcomes are profoundly different. Not slightly different, but profoundly different. So I've come to believe that the most important question isn't, am I successful? But rather, is this model helping me build the future I actually want? Because those are not the same thing. A professional can be successful, genuinely, measurably successful, and still be limited, still be dependent, still be building inside a structure that has a ceiling on what it can ultimately produce. And the difficulty is that success has a way of masking those limits. When things are going well, there's no obvious reason to look more closely. Business is coming in, income is solid, life is manageable. But manageable and optimal are not the same thing either. One of the most consistent patterns I've observed over the years is this: the agents who wait until something is wrong to evaluate their structure almost always wait too long. By the time the urgency arrives, their options have narrowed, their momentum has slowed, and the decisions they make are driven by necessity rather than strategy. The agents who evaluate from a position of strength, while things are going well, while they have options, while they still have time, make fundamentally better long-term decisions. I want to be clear about something. I've never believed that an agent should change environments simply because another opportunity exists. Change for its own sake isn't wisdom. It's restlessness. Some of you have known me for a long time, and you've heard me say more than once, some real estate agents should have their business cards done in pencil. But I do believe that every serious professional should understand exactly what they're building. Not assume, and certainly not hope, but actually understand. And in my experience, the best time to do that honest evaluation is not when you're under pressure. It's when you're not under pressure. Success gives you something genuinely valuable, something most agents never think to use this way. It gives you the ability to evaluate your future from a position of clarity and strength rather than fear and necessity. And in my experience, that's when the best decisions get made. I want to speak directly to you for a moment, not as a content creator and not as someone with an agenda, but as someone who has spent 5 decades in professional environments, watching talented, hardworking people make decisions that serve them well in the short term and cost them dearly in the long run. I was one of them. For years, my wife and I built something we were proud of, and we were right to be proud of it. But we were also building inside a structure that had limits we didn't fully see until we finally stopped long enough to look. What we found when we looked changed everything. Not just our income, not just our business, but our sense of what was actually possible at this stage of our careers. That's what I want to share with you in our next conversation. Not a sales pitch, not a list of features, but an honest account of what we found, why it matters, and why I believe it represents something genuinely worth your time and attention. If you've followed these conversations from the beginning, you've been patient, you've done the thinking, you've asked the hard questions. Next time, I'm going to give you something concrete to evaluate. I'm Allan Nanny. I'll see you in the next conversation.